guys, this is episode 22 of War Stories. I'm going to get straight into it, but before I do, let me just say this real quick. So, this situation that I'm about to get into right here, I've talked about it before on this channel. I believe I did it in the form of a written profile, and then I read it, I narrated it. I've never done it like this, so that's why I'm doing it like this, in this format where I'm talking to you guys straight about it. You're gonna hear more details, and I'm gonna talk about some of the different things, like my mindset, what was going on at that time, and what led to this. Now, this right here is a homicide that took place in the Santa Clara County Jail when I was there. Doesn't have the dates on these newspaper articles, doesn't have the dates. However, I'm going to take a chance and say that this situation happened in 2009. It couldn't have happened in 2010, although it could have. I guess it could have. So let me kind of give you guys just a little bit of background so you can understand what was going on at this time. So during this time right here, I was already going at it with the homies in the county jail. The homies became aware of my phone calls, and just for some of you that don't know the situation, so here's a brief synopsis of kind of like what took place. So when I first got arrested, these cops were trying to get me to cooperate on this case because they knew obviously I was the main target and that I had a lot of information, and they wanted to crack me, man. But it wasn't something that I was willing to do. I always knew I was going to get a life sentence. I was willing to take that. I was willing to lay in the bed that I made for myself. I wasn't going to start throwing homies under the bus because I got busted, because I got arrested and I was looking at time. I always knew that a life sentence came with this commitment, and I was at peace with that. Obviously, I always hoped that it would happen later than sooner. Unfortunately, in 2004, I got hit with an indictment, and everybody that was working with me, we all got hit. By 2005, we were all indicted. Now, these cops were trying to get me to cooperate 10 minutes after the cuffs went on. Like they were, hey, we could put you in a new, in another state, new name, new identity, woo wah wah. I'm cool, man. I'm not talking about nobody else. I'm not gonna throw anybody else under the bus. When they came to my house and they raided my house, it was just me and my wife, Vicky. And because I always made a promise to her that I always intended on keeping, and I told her, if they ever come and we ever get raided, don't you ain't got nothing to worry about. I will take responsibility for everything in the house. This is my lifestyle. It's not yours. This is, the things that I'm involved in. I made a commitment and I chose to get involved in them. You didn't. So if we ever get raided, I'll take responsibility for everything, even though I'm a 3-striker. Now, I know a lot of cats would probably throw their bitch under the bus, man. You know what I mean? Them looking at a life sentence, they'd probably be like, hey, you're not going to get life. You're just going to get, shit, you might get county jail or probation or diversion or something, but I'm going to go down for life. So they'll probably throw their lady under the bus. I wasn't going to do that, man. I promised her I would always get her out. I would clear her, man, to make sure she didn't get involved. So that's what I did tell them. I told them right there, when they were still raiding my house, they were tearing my shit up, and I was sitting there on the couch, cuffed up with her. Everything you guys find in this house is mine. I'll take responsibility for everything. She don't got shit to do with nothing. She don't know nothing. This is not her fucking This is everything in this house is mine, basically what I told him. So anyway, long story short, while I'm sitting there and they're raiding, these cops are finding shit. Oh, this is another 25 to life. I can hear them in the back room talking. Oh, this is illegal. This is another 25 to life. So about 30 minutes after they started the search, they breached my door. They started the search. I can I'm sitting there and I see this white guy walks in, and he's like, what's up, B? I'll holler at you in a minute. And I look over at this dude like, who the fuck is this dude? And he goes in the back and he's talking to the other officers back there. And there was a sergeant that I had told that, I'll take responsibility for everything, just let her go. Well, he was part of B&E, Bureau of Narcotics Enforcement, and he was like, look, man, all we're here for is the breach. We're not controlling this case. It's not our case. The agency that is in control of this case will be here, and when they come, let them know. So I was like, all right, cool. So this guy that walked in, his name ended up being Dan Livingston. So he was the officer that spearheaded this case. This was his case. He's the one that walked in and was like, what's up, B? I'll holler at you in a minute, right? So I'm still sitting there kind of tripping out on how this dude walked in and just addressed me like that. So he finally comes out to the living room and then he's like, hey, let me holler at you, man. Come out on the back porch. So I had a sliding glass door. We walked out there. He tells me, check it out, man. I'm going to be straight up with you. It's not personal. I don't got a hard on for the NF. You kind of just fell in our lap. You know what I mean? You're the best thing going out here. There's a lot of people telling on you. So that's why we came after you. That's why we're here. I'm just a narcotics agent doing my job. I'm like, that's all good, man. No, it's not personal. You know what I mean? It's business. At the end of the day, it's business. However, I told him, look, man, all the contraband that you guys found here is all mine. My girl got nothing to do with it. Let her go, man. Let her go. She's not involved in this type of lifestyle. He told me, he goes, look, if you want to be man enough, if you're going to step up like a man and you're going to take responsibility for everything, I respect that. Because, however, I'm going to tell you like this. If you're willing to do that, I'll make sure she doesn't get involved in the case. However, I'm asking you right now, did we find everything? If we didn't, and we find something, after I give you an opportunity to tell me where it's at, she goes down with you and you guys deal with it in court. So I'm like, well, I don't know what you guys have found, but there's this over here in the kitchen. There's like a quarter pound of dope in the garage, some meth. They caught me at a bad time, man. I had up to 20-30 pounds in that house at one time, and they caught me when I was dry. The night before, I pretty much had got off everything. So I had a lot of the cash sitting on the dresser. I had pictures of all that. The money counted out in stacks of 10,000. Anyway, so I take them to where the meth was, and somebody got in trouble because they didn't find it. It was in a folded blanket in a corner somewhere. So anyway, cool. They don't find nothing else. Later on that night, he kept his word. They cut her loose after they fucking put all kind of shit in her head. This dude is a bad dude. He's a fucking killer. You know what I mean? He's got a bad fucking history. And why are you fucking with somebody like this? And bad business. So anyway, they filled her head with all that. It didn't work. We'd been together for a while. But the main thing is they kept their word. They let her go. So when I get arrested, I go to jail, and like I said, these guys are trying to squeeze me, man. They're like, we can do a lot for you, man. It just depends on what you're willing to do for yourself. I'm not willing to do nothing for myself. I dumped on myself already. I took responsibility for everything at the house. I'm not talking about nobody else. So I get to Campbell PD. They start conducting their interviews. I go in, I give them a recorded statement and tell them everything that you found at the house on Beecher Court was mine. My girl was there. She didn't have nothing to do with it. It was all mine. That was it. So never gave a statement on any of my co-defendants. Never talked about none of my co-defendants. My case was adjudicated. Nobody in my case got told on. Period. I know it doesn't matter, but the main thing is I'm trying to explain to you guys is I've never tried to make an excuse for my situation, and I never will. But I wasn't with my co-defendants, I was what would be considered a percipient witness. I never testified in a court as a percipient witness. All I testified to was as an expert witness about how gangs work. I couldn't testify about who done what, who went where, and who, because the people that would end up getting affected later were not people that I worked with. So I know it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it is what it is, man. But the bottom line is this. So if I wanted to talk because of time and I knew I was looking at a life case, I would have did it right there. Right when they initially when they put the cuffs on me and they offered to give me a deal to get me out of a situation I was in, I would have done it right there. But I refused to talk. I was still loyal to the NF. My mind and my heart was still, that fire was still burning in me. So they're like, okay, they take me to jail. They tell me, you know what? You change your mind. You need to think about it. Shit, you guys are about to get hit with an avalanche. You're going to find out, man. So whatever, man. Do what you got to do. So 2-3 weeks later, they come up again. You're going to talk, man. You're going to help yourself. No, man, I'm not going to help myself. I'm not going to talk. You know, you guys are wasting your time. I'm not gonna talk about nobody else. I'm not gonna. Where's Pony at? I don't know. My co-defendant was still running. There was still some other members of my regiment that were still out there. So never gave him any statements. I guarantee you, nobody can ever come forward and say that I ever gave a statement against any of my co-defendants. Told them where they were at. Told them what they were doing. None of that. So 2-3 weeks later, they come back up again. Then they keep doing this for about a year. They kept coming up. Window of opportunity is closing. I thought it was about to close 6 months ago. You guys are wasting your time. They kept coming up, kept trying to pull me out. Then at some point they raided our housing section. Not a regular raid like a county jail raid. This was the outside agency that arrested me. They came in and did a search warrant in our unit. There was 4 cells. There was 4 of us, me and my co-defendants. They came in. They destroyed our where we were at that time, which was ADSEG, Area 51. Everything that we had in the cells, they took it. We came back into standard issue. A cup, a fucking pencil, a bar of soap, some cleaning supplies, a towel, sheets, and that's it. And some toilet paper. Everything else was gone. So anyway, when they came up that time, is when it was the last time that they gave me an opportunity. And I told them again, I'm not gonna talk to you guys. Do what you're gonna do. That's when they basically told me, okay, you're about to get indicted. Something huge is coming. Okay, what are you gonna do? There's nothing else you guys can do. You know what I mean? I'm not looking at the death penalty. You act like you can do more than give me life. I'm already looking at life. So, sure enough, a couple weeks later, boom, the indictment hits. They hit us all with the indictment. You know, for the first 2 or 3 weeks, though, when I hit the jail while I was there, I was in an observation cell, and I get on the phone, and basically my girl was broken up about the situation I was in. She had a hard time dealing with it. She knew I was looking at life. My mom was tripped out. She's over there telling my girl, you know what, he's fucking looking at life. He's probably never coming back. You need to talk some sense into him. You need to tell him to cooperate. Do what he's got to do to come home. My girl, she never did that. She wouldn't do that. But my mom was different. She didn't understand those politics. She didn't understand. Our families don't understand what we get ourselves involved in. And I didn't expect them to. I didn't expect my mom to understand those politics. All she seen was that her son was in a bad way. And all she wanted me to do was to do anything and everything I could do to get back home. But I wasn't willing to do that. So she started telling my girl, if he don't do it, then that just means, you know, he don't really love any of us. That organization is more important to him. So finally, you know, my girl, she had lupus. It started to have an effect on her health. I know that me being locked up, it caused her to stress, and her health started to deteriorate. I had conversations where all of a sudden her lungs started filling up with fluid. She was coughing so much they had to take her to the hospital. Those phone calls started to become more frequent. She started to get sick more. So I knew that she was stressed out. Eventually I'm thinking to myself, man, this is stressing her out. I gotta fucking do something to keep her morale up, man. I start telling her, you need to keep fighting. She started to get tired of going to the doctors or getting poked, getting just she got tired of all the medical treatment. She had been dealing with it since she was 18 years old. Her birth of her only son triggered her lupus. So, she would cry to me on the phone, Box, or she wouldn't call me Box. She'd say, babe, I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired of fucking the doctors. I'm tired of getting poked. I'm just tired, man. You know what I mean? And this is somebody that had 3 open heart surgeries. I mean, that's a grueling surgery. They got to go in and crack your chest plate, go in and operate on your heart. I don't know how you guys feel about getting operated on, going under the knife, but it's one of my phobias, man. And I had so much respect for her that, that she had done that 3 times, and she was actually willing to do it a 4th time. They were gonna put in a mechanical valve, because they put in like a pig valve the first time, then a cow valve that deteriorated. Then they're gonna put in another pig valve, and that ended up deteriorating. So they were gonna go with the mechanical. Anyway, so eventually I started telling her what she needed to hear, only for the purpose of keeping her morale up. That was it. That was fucking it. I started telling her, look, if I gotta cooperate to come home to you, that's what I'll do. Stop stressing. It's only a dope case. Now, I knew better. I knew I wasn't coming back home. But the way I was looking at it was like, I need to just keep her pacified. I need to try to keep her spirits up. Time will make it easier for her. I'm not gonna come back, but hopefully time will make it to where it's a little bit easier for her to accept. Just dropping it all on her like, yeah, I'm not coming home. I'm looking at life. They're gonna fucking they're gonna nail me to the wall, man. It is what it is. It would have killed her faster. She ended up dying anyway, man. You know what I mean? This shit killed her. It would end up killing her later. And I know that I sped that process up, and that's something it's something that in the midst of all this I had to deal with in the county jail, the politics with the homies. That's something that destroyed me, man. Inside, knowing that I caused that kind of stress on her, it was because of the choices that I made. Straight up, it was the choices I made that put me in that situation that caused everything else to snowball after that. So anyway, I had these conversations with her, and in the same breath, and the homies didn't even take this into consideration. They knew my girl was sick. They knew I told, hey, my girl's sick. My mom's crazy. I tell my mom that I was going to cooperate as well, because she wouldn't be able to keep, if I told her the truth, she wouldn't be able to keep it from Vicky. So I told her the same thing. I'm going to do what I got to do to come back. But then she passed the phone to my stepfather, and I tell him, man, I can't do that. I can't do that. You didn't raise me like that, man. I can't bring myself to do something like that. And those phone calls were all there, but those homies didn't take that into consideration. All I was ever asking for was the benefit of the doubt. Let me fight my case. Let me fight my fucking case. And even though you hear the phone calls and you can make an assumption like, fuck, this sounds bad. Well, what about the phone calls where I'm talking in the same breath? I'm talking to my stepfather where I'm telling him I'm not gonna do it. But not only that, if there was never any police reports, why start pushing the issue right now? Just put me on freeze and let me fight my case. And then when it's all over and done with, then if that's what I did, then do what you gotta do, man. But that's not what was happening, man. The truth would come out later and everybody would find out. But by then, it was too fucking late. So, I get indicted. The district attorney, he backdoors me. He did what he was supposed to do. He releases all our phone calls. And I know that it was part of his agenda. He was probably like, you know what? Let's release all the phone calls so that, the homies can see how Boxer's been talking on the phone. Maybe we can get Boxer in a situation where he'll be in bad standings with the fellas, and then we can get him to come to our side, and maybe we can get him to eat out the palm of our hands, right? So that's what they did. All the phone calls come out. As soon as I find out they're all out, I go into damage control. I tell the homies, look, this is what it is. This is what you guys are gonna hear. This is why. And I lay everything out. Look, I told him I'm gonna step back. I'm gonna relinquish my position because I was still running the county jail. I was still running the streets at that time. I'm gonna step back, go ahead and take my position, put me on freeze, and let this play out, man. You know, for you guys to jump the gun, you're fucking tripping, and you'll find out you were fucking wrong. So it fell on deaf ears. You know, I'm not gonna lie, man, I was miserable. The more I listened to my phone calls, I had an iPod, a quarter-ordered iPod. I listened to them, the more pissed off I got at myself. Misery loves company. I listened to myself. I'm like, you stupid motherfucker. Why did you fucking say that on the phone? Why, man? What? You sabotage yourself, man. You sabotage yourself. You would have never said that. Things would have been different. Yeah, my girl, she might have passed away. Or she would have passed away no matter what. But I wouldn't have been in the situation that I ended up in. And I understand, man. You know, I'd have probably spent the rest of my life in prison. But that's where my heart was at that time, man. Do I regret it now? Sometimes I do. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I do, but I don't regret being given my freedom back. I'm in a better place. Do I wish I could go back and do it all over again? Some of me does, but then there's a part of me that don't. And I'm just keeping it as real and as raw as I can get with you guys, man. That's just the honest truth. Anyway, so once the phone calls come out, you know, I go into damage control. I get so pissed off that I start threatening my co-defendants to the point where now they feel like I'm an immediate threat, and they gotta do something to get rid of me. Now, I would have appreciated it if they would have tried to stab me, take me out on the yard, cut me up, spear me, anything. But what they do, it was just so pathetic. It was a lightweight PC move. I'm in ADSEG, I'm on the tier, and Pony, who was my second in command on the streets, has never been nowhere, never been to a shoot, don't have no schooling, no weaponry, no training. The phone that we used to use was on a cart. It was on 4 wheels. And it had a little post and then the phone. So when we used the phone, it had to open up the tray slot and you'd have to reach your arms through, dial the phone, right? So when it's time for me to go to the shower, Pony gets the phone. I'm thinking to myself, because he never used to get the phone. Okay, all right. Oh, boys, he grew some balls and now he's going to try to fucking spear me. Maybe he's got a razor blade on the end of a post or something. But what he did, I never would have expected. When I come by his cell, the first thing I see, they cuff me up. I walk out. I already know something's up, right? You can't get the drop on me like that, boy. Anyway, I come by his cell. I'm trying to figure out what's this dude doing. He's holding the phone like this. When I come close, he pushes the phone over, so the phone it just falls over on the tier. Boom. And at first I look and I laughed to myself real quick because it was so ridiculous. It falls over on the floor, don't come nowhere near me. But then, I went from laughing to just, I went to furious. I was furious, man. I kicked his tray slot. Pow! I kicked his tray slot shut. And I got on his window and I'm like, bro, are you fucking kidding me? What the fuck was that? That's how you get down, bro? Is that how you call yourself removing me, homie? You know what I'm saying? By throwing a phone at me? I'm like, bro, you should be fucking ashamed of yourself, man. You should be embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for you. And I walked over to his neighbor and I looked at him. I'm like, bro, why would you allow him to do something like that? You've been to the Bay. Why didn't you make something for him, man? I'm like, you cats, man. You guys give the game a black eye. So anyway, they walked me off the tier. The COs walked me off the tier. They put me in an observation cell. They obviously know something's going on. Gang intel downstairs were probably like, it's happening. Boxer's phone calls must have come out. Because they kept them abreast of what was going on with our case. Our case was the biggest thing in the jail at that time. So it is what it is. I'm over there. I'm in my new cell now. I'm in there cleaning the cell. It's like, that's what I used to do. And every time I go to a cell, I scrub that motherfucker out. So I'm in there cleaning. My tray slot opens up. I turn around, the CO's he's putting the shirt through the tray slot. I turn around, look, and it's a brown top, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm giving you your shirt top, your top shirt." And I'm like, "Oh no, you're not. Nah, man, that's not coming in here, man. Now get that out of here, man. That shit ain't even coming in this cell. It was a brown top, protective custody." I'm like, "Man, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but you better tell classification to come up here and talk to me, man, because you guys ain't put me in brown." So he's like, "I don't know. I was just told." I'm like, "Well, like I said, man, you better have him come up and talk to me, because you're gonna have a problem, man. I'm just telling you." So they come up. They're like, "Hey, this is the supervisor's call. You know what I mean? It's not on us. So it is what it is until something changes. You know, the outside agency, they're the ones that think it's the best thing." Oh yeah, right. This is what they want. So anyway, I go for 17 months. I'm in that position. I'm in the ob cell. I'm fucking fighting with these guys. I won't wear the top. Anytime I come out of my cell, I'm supposed to wear it. But the cops that were working on the tiers, they were like this. Some of them used to try to play hardball, and they'd be like, if I have a visit, they'd be like, "Hey, you gotta wear the top." I'm not wearing no fucking top. Tell my girl to leave then. Just tell my visit to leave. Some of them would be like, "I don't want to get involved." The cool cops, I'd been there for, at that time for like 4 or 5 years. So, no, around at that time I'd been there around 3 years. 3 years. So, they were like, "I don't want to get involved. Hey, let's just walk them down the stairs." They get on their walkie-talkie. "Hey, where's Sarge at?" "All right, hey, we're gonna walk Mendoza down the stairs in a t-shirt. So tell us the Sarge coming this way." Boom. Anyway, long story short, let me cut to the chase, man, because otherwise this could go on and on and on. Dancing Bear ends up coming through. One of your guys' favorite. He comes through. He ends up convincing one of the SEALs to walk him over. He's right across the hall from me, to come over to Little Max, where I was at that time, to let him shower over there so he can get at me. He comes over, we dialogue. "Bro, I'm over here, it's fucked up. The situation they got me in, it should never even have happened, bro." He's like, "Bro, I just came from the Bay. Chuku was my neighbor. We didn't know you were over here. We didn't know you were in this situation. Homie, I'm gonna shoot you a one time. I'm gonna send you all my paperwork. Go through it, bro. Go through it and get back at me." So he goes through it, reads all my transcripts, all the police reports. He gets back and he tells me, basically, he's like, "Bro, you know better. You're gonna catch some flack up in the Bay when they go through. You know better than to talk like this. But I don't see nothing. There's no police reports. There's nothing that said you ever cooperated." "Yeah, because I never did. I just talked about it." But these motherfuckers are jumping to conclusions, saying that, that's enough. And I understand it looks bad, man, but my wife was dying. All I asked for is just have a little bit of, just understand the situation, man. Let me fight my fucking case. I'll take a life case. I told him that. So anyway, Dancing Bear gave my co-defendants 2 weeks to come up with anything, paperwork. If they weren't able to come up with something, he was like, "I'm gonna try to get this dude back on an active tier, and you motherfuckers need to shut your fucking mouths." Nobody could produce any paperwork because there was none. So we concoct a plan to get me back on an active tier. It was my idea. I was like, you know what? I need to start sparing people. I need to start taking off on motherfuckers that come by my cell. And once I start, I need to keep it going until they get tired of dealing with me. I need to become a fucking management problem. So that's what I did. This could have been a war story right here, because one of my neighbors, 2 cells down, I had a nice fucking arrowhead to spear somebody, and I knew that one day I'd probably need it for a good target, and he was my first target. And I ended up getting away with it. I did it in front of a CO that I actually warned the CO, and I'm gonna do something tonight. I'm gonna take care of some business. "Oh yeah, it's all good. Don't trip." I don't think he knew what I meant though, because when I did it, he got pissed off, man. But He didn't tell him he didn't want to see me get in trouble. He understood the position I was in. He knew I still wanted to be active, but he just like, he ended up getting in trouble. The other inmates up there told on him. They told that I speared this other individual in front of him, and they were wondering, well, IA was wondering, well, why didn't you write this dude up? How come there's no paperwork generated on this incident? And he played dumb. So they treated him bad, man. I felt bad for the dude. Anyway, so this was, well, let me back up for a minute. So the situation this situation right here, it actually happened just a little bit before Dancing Bear came. So I'm up there, I'm there for 17 months. There was some homies that used to get at me. Majority of them, they were like, at that time, motherfuckers were looking at it like I was in the hat. I was done. So in my mind, I'm looking at it like this. I'm looking at life. I'm going away forever. I don't want to hit no S&Y. I'd rather get the death penalty. I'd rather go to death row. Straight up. If I'm going to go to prison for the rest of my life, I'd rather have a death penalty case than to go to an S&Y yard. That's just my thinking. Call it what you want. It is what it is, man. I had heard nothing but bad shit about S&Ys. I didn't want to be out there with chomos. I didn't want to be out there with some of those types of individuals. I had been to death row. I knew how it operated. I knew people that were there. So my thing was like, I'd rather just catch the death penalty, man. So, I'm there. That's what my mind's thinking. I'm like, another individual comes through that's in a similar situation that I'm in. He caught a double homicide. The homies, was on a norteño. The homies put him in a bad situation. He ended up getting burnt up. So he was up there. He moved next door to me, right? But before he did, let me back this up. Before he did, so Little Max, there was 4 cells. At that time, there was a Southsider, a former Mexican Mafia associate. There was a cat from Fresno. Then there was me, and then there was a white youngster, and his name was Joseph. His name was Joseph Boos. And he was a kid, man. He was a kid with an identity crisis. One day he was a Nazi lowrider. The next day he was a skinhead. And these guys were bona fide PCs, and I was still on the fence. I was like, man, this is not where I want to be. I was still, my cell in the morning, I'm the only one up back there at like 4:30. My shit's rolled up. My cell's immaculate. I'm programming. I'm busting down. I'm still doing my thing. And these guys, when they get into their little conflicts, I'm the one that kind of mediates, gets in between them and tells, hey, stop that shit, or let this dude do that. Let him, I'm the one that's kind of controlling the pod back there. When conflicts would develop, I was the one that diffused them. You know what I mean? Anyway, one night this youngster gets into it with the Southsider. They start arguing. They next thing you know, this youngster starts talking about he's gonna gas him and throw shit on him, and it escalates. And I try to intervene and talk to my neighbor, the white guy. I had talked to him before, and everything was cool, man. We had an open line of communication, but it got heated that night. Next thing you know, he turns on me. He's like, man, well, fuck you too, man. You know what I mean? And I throw shit on you too. And okay, all right, man, do what you got to do, man. You know what I'm saying? But that's the way you're gonna act. You ain't got no more TV privileges. You ain't got shit coming in there. You're on dead cell status. So now he's really talking shit. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting there thinking, man, you know what? Let me play some psychological warfare on this kid. He's young, green is a motherfucker, but I'm gonna play some psychological warfare and run him up out of here. Well, I'm actually gonna make him run himself out of here. So what I do is, I got the phone, and I get on the phone. It's quiet back there, and I'm acting like I'm dialing the number. And I had seen his mail go by my cell so many times. I had his address memorized, right? So I act like I'm calling somebody and I tell him, hey, what's up, homie? How you doing, bro? He's like, hey, man, listen, check this out, bro. That address that I gave you the other day, you know that address, like 1422 Baker Street, and you know what I mean? I need you to go over there, bro, tonight and lay everybody in the fucking house down. I'm serious, bro. Don't leave nobody behind. I wasn't talking to nobody. It was a ploy to get in this fool's head. It worked. It worked like magic. He gets on his gate, starts yelling for the CO. CO, somebody help, please help. This dude's gonna have my whole family killed, right? And he knows a little bit about who I am, you know, and he's thinking that I got all this power still, that he's terrified. He's gonna kill my mom and everybody in the house, and he nuts up. They take him off the tier. A couple days later, this guy, Joshua, comes in, and like I said, he was in a similar situation as me, and he felt the same way I did, as far as catching a case, so that we could catch a death penalty case. You know what I mean? Just so we would avoid S&Y. So anyway, my case went to the California Supreme Court. I had a standing issue dealing with search and seizure. I wasn't on parole at the time they raided my house, so I was challenging some good issues on search and seizure, and I had them. It was a landmark case, man. But anyway, you know, talking to this other cat and finding out that he's in a similar situation. You know, we talked about the youngster that was in the cell before he moved in there, and he knew I had an issue with him, but it wasn't serious enough for me to tell somebody to go kill that kid. He talked about throwing some feces on me, and I had bigger fish to fry. If I was gonna go after somebody, it wouldn't have been him. However, this would happen. You know, this guy Joshua, Joseph, the one that had moved in with me, that felt the same way as me. He was like, you know what, B? He was like, you know, I'd wait for you, but I can't wait any longer, man. You're gonna wait for your court case to play out. He's like, I gotta go get my money, man. So, you know, I'll see you on the other side, homie. You know what I'm saying? I'll see you when you get there. I'm on my way right now. So he left, man. He left that night. He goes, I don't know where they move him to, but 2 days later, classification comes up to my cell, and they're like, we need to talk to you. And I'm like, about what? And we'll let you know. We need to talk to you. I don't know if it has something to do with my class status or what, but anyway, they pull me out, go downstairs, and first thing that they say is, you know, they say something about Joshua Joseph really make you that mad or something. I'm like, yeah, he's a bitch, man. You know, fuck that dude. And they're like, that's a pretty fucked up thing to say, you know. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, why would you say that about him? Why not? Well, that's how you talk about people that, you know. He's like, you know, he died last night. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, yeah, he was killed last night. Did you tell Joshua Joseph to go over there and kill him? Crazy as fuck, man. Hell no. Hell nah, man. I don't know what you're talking about, what you've been hearing, or where you got that idea from, but nah. Negative, man. You ain't putting that shit on me. Anyway, when I guess Joshua Joseph moved over there to where they moved that other kid, and why he picked him, I don't know. I didn't tell him to go get him. I didn't tell him nothing like that. He moved over there with them. They celled up. Prior to them selling up, the other dudes on the tier with them were telling that kid, don't fucking sell up with that dude. He came from where Boxer's at. He's gonna do something to you. Don't fucking sell up with that dude, man. You better think about that. And the dude was, you know, it's cool. You know, we're cool, and he's got nothing to do with Boxer. And so he moves in with them, and he kills him. He killed him the next day. Stomped him out, crushed his head, and just destroyed the dude. So they were trying to put that murder on me. Then these newspaper articles, they don't mention me by name, but they say that classification should have never put that Joshua Joseph in with that dude Boost, because he was a friend of a former high-ranking NF member that had gotten into a prior disagreement with that kid. So what really put this idea out there was when he was killed on the tier, when the COs went in there to retrieve the body, there were like 3 cells that had kites sticking out of their bars. These motherfuckers had kites sticking through their bars before they even got the body off the tier. The kites basically said that they knew, they had information saying that they knew that I was the one that directed that hit, that it was a coordinated hit, that it was done on behalf of me, and all this fucking bullshit, man. And that's where it came from. Dion Ortega, if you're watching this, that was some cold shit. That was some cold shit, bro. You know, I think they call you Shorty, Shorty. Why you said that, I don't know, man, but that was just some cold shit, what you tried to do, man. Anyway, so that was the basis for why I was telling you guys this war story. I'm just gonna close it up with this, man. So right after that, you know, they couldn't put no murder on me because it was all circumstantial and it was bullshit. That people were reaching at fucking straws, man. They wanted to, but they couldn't. Right after that is when Dancing Bear drove up, and that's when I started spearing people, and I got back on an active tier. How many motherfuckers would have done that? I went from being in protective custody for 17 months, not because I wanted to, but because these motherfuckers forced it on me. But I came out. I was like, you know what? I want to go to an active tier. They put me on an active tier. I was going to yard with the homies. The first time I went to yard, I told you guys this before. I did it. It was my ego, man. It was my ego. And it was stupid, but it was my ego. I went out to the yard, and I was the last one. I was going out with Dancing Bear, Thavo from Brotherhood. And when I got out to the yard, being that I was the last one, I would have been the first one to get my cuffs off. But I stepped away from the gate, and I let them get their cuffs off first. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted them to know I'm not a bitch. I'm not scared, and I'm not a coward, man. You know, if they would have wanted to, they could have ripped my head off, and I wouldn't have been able to do shit about it because I had handcuffs on. So it was stupid, but it was just it was my ego, man. So anyway, for a good 17 months, about a good another 17 months, man, I programmed on the tier with the homies. You know, I'm thinking, I'm getting ready to, all my co-defendants had pled out. I got one co-defendant. We were at a point where I was getting ready to take a deal. I'll take a life sentence if you cut my co-defendant loose, drop the life sentence on him. Lencho starts pushing an agenda. You know, there's a lot more details to it, but, you know, this is the fast version, the quick, short version, because this wasn't what this was about. But anyway, he starts pushing the issue. He starts telling these cats if they don't hit me, he's gonna, they're all gonna be in the hat, and, you know, he knows that I'm cooperating. He goes as far as writing Chuco, after Chuco had already said, let Boxer fight his case. Dancing Bear did an investigation, submitted it up to Chuco. Chuco was like, cool, okay, let him fight his case. We'll go through it when he gets up here. Cool, everything was cool. But then this idiot shoots a kite up to Chuco and says, leads him to believe that there's paperwork. He tells him there's paperwork. I seen the fucking letter. It was part of the discovery. There's paperwork. I got paperwork confirming that he's telling. So Chuco and them were aware of the phone calls. They were aware that I made the phone calls, but there was never no paperwork. However, when Lencho said he was aware, he had paperwork, you know what he was talking about? He was talking about my phone calls transcribed. That's scandalous, man. So he had paperwork. It was the phone calls though. Written, it was transcribed now. So had he told Chuco, the paperwork I'm referring to are his phone calls that are transcribed, he would have been like, I already know about that. But he made it seem like there was more paperwork, like there were police reports or statements or something like that. So they put another green light on me. They get the youngest Norteño on the tier to try to spear me. Fucking thing misses. They don't want to get involved. The youngster that was directed to do it didn't want to do it. Him and the celly were fighting amongst each other. They were like, this is NF business. I don't want to get involved. They ended up both dropping out later. But you know, the second time that they tried to hit me with the spear, even though it missed and all that, I knew it was over. My wife had died a week before that. They tried to get me when I was in a dark spot. You know what I mean? The homies that were on that tier they really had my back, but they were put in a position where it was either me or them. Nobody wanted to do it because they knew they were there with me. But the new jail where Lecha was at, it was like the old jail against the new jail, and it got to a point where they were like, you know what, we got to get rid of them, otherwise it's gonna be us. But I knew from that. Now this is the second time they tried it. The first time I came back, but this is the second time. Like, I'm not stupid. There's not gonna be a third. I knew from that point on I could never give my back to these dudes again. I could never go out to a yard and be okay with giving them my back. I'm not stupid, man. You know what I mean? My mindset at that time was like, okay, you motherfuckers took 2 shots. Now it's on. If I get an opportunity, I'm knocking one of you motherfuckers down. So it's on. The lines are drawn in the sand. But I still wasn't willing to give it up yet. I was just like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just gonna still fight my case. Now I'm in bad standings with the fellas. Now I'm in bad standings with these people that are trying to give me life. I only got 2 choices from that point on. There's 2 choices. Whether I like it or not, these are the only 2 choices that are left. I can either continue to hold my mud and let the court process play out and get that 185 on the chin, which I was definitely going to get. Or I could just say, you know, I'm going to hang it up. That's it, man. And force myself to make some undesirable choices. For me, it wasn't about the NF. It wasn't about compromising the NF belief system. It wasn't about compromising the Norteño belief system or the NR belief system. It was about compromising that belief system that my mother and stepfather instilled within me from the time I was a kid. You don't tell on your friends. You don't tell on your brother or your sister. Quit being a fucking tattletale. Nobody likes little fucking snitches. That's what I struggle with. That's what I struggle with right there. So I mean, that's basically how it played out, man. It's how it played out. And it wasn't just as simple as me getting busted and just give it all up, man. And it didn't happen like that, man. It didn't happen like that. But it's beside the point. I understand that. It is what it is. You can't pretty it up. You can't make it any better. It's not gonna change. Things happen for a reason, man. I'm here because things happen the way they did. If it would have happened any other kind of way, I'd be warehoused somewhere right now. It's episode 22 of War Stories, man. It's not my story, it's my reality. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Maybe I'll try to post these at some point, or I'll have them incorporated in the video. Episode 22. I'm gonna hit you guys tomorrow with an Inner Demons. I hope you guys are enjoying the content. I'm out.